Hey guys, welcome back to episode 37 of the Split Screen Media Podcast. We are a podcast that talks about movies, TV shows. We do like entertainment, news, and reviews. We also get into our personal lives a little bit. And with me, as always, is the man whose claim to fame is the 42nd man on the moon, Christopher Blankenship. Thank you so much for being on with me, as always.
Yeah, thanks. It's always a pleasure. Not as much of a pleasure as being on the moon, though. I'll tell you that much.
That's true. You have to think like anyone who's the second or third at that, like it doesn't matter, right?
Like, if you're I was just about to say like, oh, I remember who the second man on the moon was, but I don't. Was it Buzz Aldrin?
It doesn't matter because no one cares.
Might be. The third guy, I couldn't even take a guess at. Second, I'm gonna guess Buzz, but
that sounds right. But yeah, no, like once someone does something, it's like, oh well, you're the second. You know what Joey always said, that it must suck being the man who's like has the world's second smallest penis.
That's just a shame. You can't be in the Guinness World Record book or anything.
No, you don't get in the record book. Like there's no claim to fame with you. It's just you have a tiny penis and that's it. What do we do on this show? We talk about entertainment.
It was Buzz Aldrin, by the way.
Who had the second smallest penis?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I for the moon, I have no idea who the third person was.
I don't know. Actually, it's Charles P. Conrad.
Charles P. Conrad. I've never heard that name in my life.
Neither have I.
Well, there you go. You learn something new every day. Yeah, I think the first thing that I want to talk about, and I think I was mentioning this like 20 seconds ago before we started. I don't have a lot to say about it, but the Hawkeye trailer came out, and this is going to be a new TV show that's airing on Disney Plus. It's going to air, I think, sometime late November, so it should fall into the Christmas season. The whole thing is like holiday themed. So, you know, depending on how many, I think there's like somewhere between 6 and 8 episodes, I'm sure.
November 24th. That's what was on Jeremy Renner's Instagram.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that'll definitely fall into Christmas then. Yeah, I mean, going off of last week when I was talking about how I'm kind of falling out of the MCU a little bit, this is not helping.
No, it's not. This is a show I'm gonna have to go into with like absolutely zero expectations, and then expect that like to be broken. Expect it to go lower.
That's a really good way of going into it, honestly. I mean,
whatever your lowest expectations are, they'll drop below it.
It sucks too, because I actually really like Hawkeye as a character. I think Jeremy Renner does a great job in all the movies. Like it seems like he genuinely cares about the direction that character goes. And again, this is just a trailer. Sometimes trailers are bad, and then the actual thing is good. But man, this looks like a Disney Channel original movie, like Johnny Tsunami or High School Musical, and those are fine in their own, you know, in their own sense. But like, that's not what I want from a Hawkeye TV show, you know?
Yeah, no, it gave off like Hallmark vibes. I mean, it gave off that for a couple of reasons. One, it's like Christmas, which every like bullshit Hallmark, Lifetime, whatever rom-com is set in Christmas Town for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
That, or like it's a hometown of two people that are finally meeting after like 10 years of, you know, not being together or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, the Christmas theme is a little weird to me. It gives off weird vibes. We'll see.
Yeah, you know what else was weird is that his daughter in the trailer was noticeably terrible at acting. Like when they're at the dinner scene, she's like, "Wow, it's really been a while since we've done this." Like she just had the worst delivery.
Who is his daughter again?
I don't know who plays her. She's young, so I mean, you know, she's still.
Is it Haley Steinfeld? Is that?
No. Haley Steinfeld is just like the new. She plays Kate Bishop, I guess. I'm talking about like his actual daughter, like his very young daughter in the beginning part of the trailer. Like
I
she
don't
was
even,
noticeably bad at acting.
dude. I don't even remember that.
A
Hold on,
good reason for it.
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
But yeah, Haley Steinfeld is going to be Kate Bishop. I really like her a lot. A lot of the stuff she's
Uh,
been in recently, like she was great in Spider-Verse. I don't love the Bumblebee movie, but she's great in that. Um, she's been kind of knocking it out of the park recently.
I remember this. The only because his daughter, yeah, I don't remember her acting, but I remember Hawkeye going, "I'll be home by Christmas," and I wanted to throw the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, it's weird that they're going back to the Ronin storyline, which is like pretty dark, and then they're going to be like, "Oh, but it's a fun family Christmas time thing." I don't know. It didn't seem to match.
I don't know. Maybe the story will be good. Who knows?
Yeah, it's possible. The only thing that I saw that I was like, "Oh, that's really kind of cool and interesting," is the Steve Rogers Captain America musical, whatever that was.
Yeah, that was the most exciting thing from this trailer for me was well, because you see it early in the trailer. They're like, it's like looking down a street and there's a theater and it has Rogers musical on it, and I was like, oh, that's like a neat little cameo. But then they actually show like a little scene from it, and I was like, there's actually going to be a musical part to this.
I hope they actually show a good chunk of it. Like maybe he goes with his family and he's watching it, and you get to see like a couple musical numbers or something. Because like if they went through all that work to actually make it, then I want to actually see it when it shows up on the show.
I wouldn't even be mad if it was a whole episode.
No, I would love that. Especially depending on like where the show goes. If I'm just like so sick of it by the end, then I'm like, yeah, give me the I want all the Steve Rogers musical.
No, I'm excited for that. Um,
It's also funny because I think I mentioned this before, like many episodes ago, but I went to see Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, which was the Broadway musical, and I saw that in New York before it had actually come out officially. So they were doing like a couple test screenings or whatever.
mhm.
I went to go see it then, and it was awful. Like it was so bad. And it's funny because it's actually the most expensive musical ever made. And it was such a failure because the songs were awful. The story was terrible. The only thing that was cool was that they actually had Spider-Man swinging around the stage and like the
Mhm.
entire auditorium. So that was awesome. And the costumes looked kind of cheesy and whatever, like they do in the fake Steve Rogers musical. So I was like, man, they really got that right. Like just in terms of the other Broadway superhero shit I've seen.
I think now we're just going to talk about musicals. I think I think musicals have just like a lot of like the costume and stuff. Like it's not going to be like watching a movie where they can edit the video a little bit, or they can really focus on the costumes and stuff. I think when you're in there in person, it loses a little bit of that movie flair. I
Yeah.
do remember when that was going on, they were talking about how Spider-Man flies around the auditorium.
No, that part of it was really cool. But I mean, even the name, like Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, is a dumb name.
What is that like? What was the story about?
Oh my God. I saw it when I was 12. So I'm going to have to try and. All right. What I remember is that the whole thing is kind of told through a storybook setting. So like there are kids that are reading a Spider-Man comic and they're like, wasn't this part crazy? And then it goes and then it shows what's actually happening with Spider-Man. But then at some point, like one of the villains comes out and starts colliding realities. So they end up in the comic book somehow. And then Spider-Man has to save them and get them back. But apparently that story was completely scrapped for when it actually came out. So I don't know what the real story is from like when the music actually or when the musical started playing in Broadway to everybody, like to an open audience.
Hmm.
Uh so who knows? But either way, everyone still kind of hated it. And I think really what's important about a Broadway musical or an off Broadway musical, one of the most important things is that you have to be able to hum at least like one or two songs when you leave. You have to have that in your head.
Mm.
And that's the sign of a good musical, is like it stuck with you and it resonated with you. I don't remember a single goddamn song from that entire thing, and it was like 2 hours long, maybe more.
That's a good point about musicals, is remembering the songs, or at least like a handful. Because there's like, I agree with that. Like every musical that was good, I can remember songs from.
Even ones that I'm not crazy about. Like I saw Waitress, and I wasn't crazy about the story, but the songs were pretty good, and I was leaving the auditorium like kind of humming it, in my head, and I was like, oh, at least I remember the songs. That's cool. But Spider-Man didn't have any of that.
Oh shit.
And what's weird is that the person who wrote all the music for it was Bono. And I'm like, U2 makes good stuff. Like, how did they fuck this up so bad?
Huh. I'm looking at I paused the video on where it has like Rogers the musical.
Mm.
And I don't know, it's got a couple things. It says captures the heart of a hero, timeless story of a timeless hero. I can't see. Rogers is a surfing, smoking, flying, fighting musical triumph. Is that what that says? I can't really see it that well.
Is that
But
like
if I
a
look,
review?
it's on like there's like banners on the like the theater,
Mm.
and there's like a red carpet. I don't know. I also see it's in New York, and there's like ads, like New York has like the television ads on the side of like buildings, like in Times Square and stuff.
Mm.
They've got that in the movie, and I'm wondering if like it's Marriott and American Eagle are the two big ones right here, and I'm wondering if that's like product placement type shit.
Yeah, I'm sure there's tons of that in there. This is totally off topic, but do you have a favorite musical, or like a select couple?
Sweeney Todd has always been like one of my favorites. Like that's my go-to answer when I ask about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. That's probably my favorite.
I don't know if this counts, but I really enjoyed I don't even know if it's my favorite, but I really like La La Land, because
I think it counts.
it's like my favorite like I don't know. I like when musicals, the music doesn't actually interrupt the story. Like you're able to progress the story through the music. I hate when it's like Les Mis. I fucking hate, because it's just like taking a break from this really good story to like sing shitty songs. And like La La Land is the exact opposite of that.
I kind of liked Les Mis.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to shit on it then.
Oh no, you're good. Um, I'm trying to get this open. Greatest Showman. Oh man, I barely remember that movie.
I never saw that one. I've never seen Sweeney Todd either. I really should check that out.
Yeah, Johnny Depp and fuck one of the ladies from Harry Potter. I forget her name.
It's the Helena
Yeah,
Carter,
that.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember her exact name, but she's in it, and it's pretty good. They do a good job.
Yeah, she's great in pretty much everything I've seen her in. She always does a really, really good job. I mean, so is Johnny Depp, but
Yeah,
except Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I don't know if you've seen that nightmare of a movie.
I have. I've seen it a couple times.
I mean, I want to say his performance is bad, but at the same time, it's like so memorable. I don't know if I can call it truly bad.
I think it's bad. Sweeney Todd is kind of a dark story, though. It's like I don't want to ruin it if you haven't seen it, but
I know. I mean, I know kind of the gist. Like he's a hairdresser that kills people.
yeah. And then
Okay.
his wife bakes pies out of the dead people.
Oh, that I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, she makes like meat pies, and then she like cuts them up and stuff. But there's more to the story, so
Does she sell them?
Yeah,
Oh,
she sells like meat pie. Like that's like a thing, I guess, in like 19th century London is like meat
okay.
pies. Which I mean, you eat my meat pies today, but like, yeah, she sells them, and she uses the meat from the people that he kills,
Gotcha.
which is fucked up. But
That is fucked up, but that sounds kind of interesting. I might enjoy that.
I'm going through a list real quick. Mamma Mia, great.
Mamma Mia is great. I saw Avenue Q on Broadway too. That was fucking hilarious. That's like the dirty Sesame Street one.
Okay, I never heard of it.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think you would actually really like that one. Um,
What's it called?
it's
Avenue.
called Avenue Q. and it's basically like Muppets but R-rated.
I'm gonna take a note of that.
It's kind of like it like if Team America World Police was puppets, like it's that kind of shit. Like they're just like the sex scene in Team America where they're just like bumping up against each other. It's kind of that same thing.
You might convince me to watch that because I've never even heard of it.
I don't know if they have it on. I'm sure someone has a performance recorded at some point. Like if you go on YouTube, you could find it, but it's really, really good. I would highly recommend it.
Have they not adapted it to a movie yet?
No, they haven't.
Oh, damn.
As far as I know, it's just the stage play. But honestly, I think if you can find a good quality version of it, it's worth a watch.
It looks like there's a couple different versions, or I can like just look at a couple songs.
The internet is for porn. It's probably a standout on there.
Oh, I've heard that. I've heard that.
You have?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's from that.
Okay. That's good. That's a good song. It's funny.
Yeah. So if you like that kind of stuff, then that's basically the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the song names, and it's interesting. Yeah. I think that's the only one I've heard over here, though. Do Disney movies count as musicals? Like this says Hercules, which is a great movie, but I mean, I guess it's technically a musical, but
any like 90s Disney animated feature, I think, is technically considered a musical because they all had, it's like, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and all that shit.
Yeah, I guess School of Rock.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, well, there's a play. There's like a play adaptation of School of Rock.
Is what's the other Pick of Destiny? Is that technically a musical?
I think technically it is. I think we're discovering there's a very fine line between what is a musical and what just has music in it.
I was gonna say this has Straight Outta Compton. I guess.
I would love to see the stage play of Straight Outta Compton.
Hairspray.
I love Hairspray.
That's a good one.
Hairspray is great. I actually really like the Travolta Zac Efron one too. Like it's a good movie.
No, I really like it. We've talked about this on the podcast before, I think.
I think we have, yeah.
Moana.
I love that we were so bored with the Hawkeye trailer that we just started talking.
I'd much rather talk about this stuff. That describes the Hawkeye trailer.
Yep. Watch it for the Steve Rogers musical, and that's it. I hope it's going to be good, but
yeah, me too. I'm gonna watch it anyway, but
yeah, I mean that What If show is fucking awful. So
I haven't watched any of that yet. I usually like to wait until the whole show's out and then binge it all at once. Although I don't think I have to do that with this one since each episode is different. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so that's actually what I'm doing now with it because I got partway through episode 2 or 3, I can't even remember now. And I just turned it off because the show is so bad that I was like, I'm done with this. And I was like, if I do end up watching it, it's going to be all at once. I can't wait week for week with this garbage.
I also don't trust not just Marvel, but any studio to do a show that's like that and then not like tie it together in the finale, like tie all the episodes together in the finale,
Yeah.
So
I think that's what they're going to go for.
Yeah, I don't trust them not to do that. So it's just, I'm going to wait anyways, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think excuse me, I think the biggest killer for this is the writing, which is noticeably terrible even for Marvel. Like it's basically what If is these condensed versions of movies that just have one element different. So it's like, oh, what if Peggy Carter was Captain America? And it retells the events of an MCU movie, but in a really shitty way and rushed way that if you hadn't seen the movie and you didn't have that context, it wouldn't make any sense. Which I guess they're assuming that you have if you're watching this, but it doesn't excuse how bad the writing is.
Yeah, no, we talked about this with just every Marvel or Avengers thing right now is like they assume you've seen the rest of every piece of media they've put out in regards to Avengers or whatever story they're telling.
Yeah, and that's just not the case after Endgame. I mean, people have jumped ship pretty quickly, and I mean, nobody watched Black Widow. Not that that's going to tie in, but I mean, there's stuff that's going to fall through the cracks when you have, oh, we got to watch this TV show, and then 2 weeks later, this movie's coming out, and it's like, I don't have time for all this.
I still have not watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or whatever the fuck it's called.
No, yeah, and if you didn't watch that, then you can't, you can't watch the next Captain America movie that they're making. Like, I mean, it's all gonna tie together. So yeah, it's frustrating when there's so much content coming out, and none of it's been, particularly good besides Loki.
Yeah, that I can vouch for. That was good.
Yeah, Loki was awesome. Loki got better on. It's the only thing I've watched twice. I watched the whole thing through again because I loved it so much. And the back half of that show is fucking incredible. Like the last 3 episodes are so good.
I watched it on my own. I didn't watch it with Hannah, but if she wanted to, I'd definitely watch it again, like with her.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Knowing everything that happens doesn't. In fact, I think it enhances it because you're like, oh shit, there's like little details that you notice going through again.
Yeah.
I don't think we could probably. Well, I don't know. I won't spoil anything, but yeah, like go watch it if you haven't watched it. You don't really need any prior knowledge of the MCU. It's its own story. Like, just go watch it.
Yeah. You know why I haven't watched Falcon and the what is it called? Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Because I've been too busy watching the Matrix movies.
A much better use of time. Now, we had talked about this a lot recently. Like the past 2 podcasts have had us talking about the Matrix.
Yeah, we'll talk about because I finally finished 2 and all of 3 this week. We'll talk about it and then we'll stop beating the dead horse.
No, I could talk about it forever. I also watched 2 and 3 this week.
Oh, you did?
I did because I hadn't seen them in a long time and I wanted to be fresh because I figured we were going to talk about this.
Maybe you told me that. I just forgot.
I don't think I said. I think I told you I was watching 2, but I don't think I told you I'd finished all of 3 as well. But I don't know any of your thoughts. I know how you felt about 2, which you can talk about here again. But what did you think of 3?
I didn't like it as much as 2 and 1. I thought all of like, how I talked about, especially in 1 and a little bit in 2, they do like that carrot and the stick thing. Like they give you a question and then it's kind of like they kind of answer it and give you another question and lead you through the story. All of that's gone in 3. Like I don't have any questions. I'm just kind of there for the ride, like watching it. Like I don't know. I feel like 2 left off on a really good spot, and that's where I could have stopped watching. I feel like 3 didn't add anything to this like trilogy that was substantial,
Yeah, 3 is a big old fucking mess. Any goodwill I had with the incredible pacing in the first one and the okay pacing in the second one is thrown out the window here. There's like a 45-minute mech scene that goes on way too long. It is a CGI shit show of just fucking lights and colors.
The CGI is very bad.
Yeah, it does.
Product of its time, which wasn't that long ago in terms of CGI.
A lot of that is product of its time, but the worst part is that the first Matrix doesn't have any of that because all of their ideas were grounded enough to be like, okay, well, we can have Keanu and Lawrence Fishburne punch each other and we'll hook them up to wires so they can do the aerial shit. And, and that's it. But in this one, Zion is crumbling and all the squids are crawling through the walls and it's like, it's nuts. Man, go real quick too. Side note, don't watch these on HBO Max. The quality of the copy that they have, the digital copy that they have on HBO Max is really, really bad. The picture quality is terrible. The sound is terrible. So like if you can find a Blu-ray of it or rent it in 4K, I would recommend doing that instead.
I didn't notice that, so I don't share the same sentiment.
It might be because I've seen these movies before. so I knew like what the color grading and stuff was supposed to be, and it's just way off here. Um, it's everything is way too bright. It's like they up the saturation too much. I don't know what happened with this copy of it, but yeah, if you have like a Blu-ray pack or something, I would just watch it there. But yeah, I still don't like 3, even though I think it has a couple moments that I do enjoy. I think the train sequence is really fun when they go into that club and it's basically the first one, but everybody's upside down. That's pretty fun. Like the whole first 30 minutes, I actually think are pretty solid.
I think they're the most solid. I don't know if I really enjoyed it. To be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think a lot of like the battle lead up, like everything in terms of like I don't know who the lieutenant or whatever the guy who's like, I don't believe in any of this shit. We need every man, woman, child with a gun in their hands, whatever, that guy. Everything with him kind of sucks. And like the fall of Zion kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like all of that is just I didn't like any of that. I didn't actually like the train sequence that much. I feel like in the first 2 movies, there was like this character that you couldn't see, like the Oracle in 1 and the Keymaker in 2, and they don't really reveal it. And there's a lot of like curiosity that you have with them. But in 3, it's like Train Man, and then boom, right away, there he is.
There he is, right there. Yeah,
And
I mean,
I don't know. I wish that there would have been more. Like I said, just questions that they like, curiosity. That's what I really liked. That's the best way to describe it. In the first 2 movies, is totally absent in 3.
everything for the most part has been answered at this point, and everything that hasn't been answered doesn't get answered. And I think that's the most frustrating part about this movie. When I said train sequence, though, I was more talking about the beginning where he's having that conversation with the program about sort of what constitutes love, and I thought that was really interesting. All the little philosophical nuggets that they drop in there, I think are pretty fun. Yeah.
Well, even that's a carryover from 2 when he's talking to the architect and he talks about love. You know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just so hard for me to really truly like either of these movies. And I think part of it is because when you make something like the first Matrix, which in my opinion is a masterpiece, anything that comes after it is going to be disappointing. You've set the bar so high that even the interesting stuff that they tried to do in 2, I think originally just went over a lot of people's heads, because the whole idea is like, if Matrix 1 is allegory of the cave, which is that people are, chained down in the cave, they can only see the shadows on the walls, so that's their reality until they escape, they leave the cave, and they can see what's actually creating those, and then you become the master of your own reality. Like, that's Matrix 1. And then in Matrix 2, instead of just being like, oh, it's a simulation in a simulation, because they could have done that twist, but instead they were like, well, even if you achieve this free will, and if you achieve like this higher planar transcendence, there is still a system in place that dictates your entire life, which is basically what the architect is saying, how Neo isn't really the one, he's just an anomaly in an algorithm that he can't solve. So the process just keeps repeating itself over and over and over. So
I thought, just a note on that, I thought that was kind of cool. I really enjoyed that, because I mean, this second movie came out in 2003, I think. And basically what the architect describes is, he's saying he's a machine learning program that through each iteration he improves. And so the Matrix gets better, and they get better at crushing Zion and all of that. And I think for that concept in 2003 was really, like, the Wachowskis or whoever came up with that was very like ahead of their time in that thinking, because I don't think that was a thing back then.
No, well, I think that's why people didn't like that movie, because, there wasn't this huge push for people to, taking the red pill, quote unquote, is sort of a recent thing where it's like, there's a veil of falseness, I guess, that's been covered over your eyes, and you have to go out and search for the truth. So the idea that there's a system that still dictates that system, I think, is a very unique concept, and I think it works in that movie. My problem with that movie is that it's a couple of fetch quests mixed with some action that's kind of boring compared to the first one, and scenes drag on. What I think, when we were talking about the first Matrix, like, one of the things I said was that scenes begin and end exactly when they need to. Like, it's pitch perfect to a T. And this movie doesn't give a fuck about that. There's like 30 minutes in Zion that are boring as fuck. And then he has to go he sees the Oracle like 3 times. And he's just like trying to find her, and he's flying back and forth. And that becomes even worse in the third Matrix movie.
I think what I was talking about, like, ahead of their time or whatever, is the technology space, like the whole red pill whatever bullshit that's going on in today. Sure, you can look at that now, but I think I was just talking like purely like in the technology like industry. Like, that wasn't a big thing in 2003, 18 years ago. Nobody was thinking about machine learning.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So from a technical aspect, that was still very new.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's why I really like the architect scene, thinking about that. And in the highway scene was really cool, and Bane at the end of the movie, like, that was some curiosity. I was like, well, what's going to happen with Bane in the third movie? Because you said that these movies were supposed to be watched back to back, and that really gave me appreciation for that, because I was like, it's not a cliffhanger per se. It kind of is, but I know the story is going to continue in the next one. So I was like, there's that curiosity I've been waiting for, which hasn't really been there in the second movie. A little bit it was, and then like in the third movie, just, I mean, how long did it take for Bane to it was like an hour and a half before Bane even like became a thing in that story.
Yeah, I know, before he did anything. By the way,
Yeah,
the guy who plays Bane, I think he does an amazing job, and he does an incredible Hugo Weaving impersonation.
he did a really good impersonation, I will give him that.
It was so good, where he's like, Mr. Anderson. I just love that he says that, and Neo's still like, who are you? I'm like,
I
who
don't
else
I don't
calls you
get it.
that? You dumbass. One of the things I think shocked me the most in that third movie when I watched it was when he blinds him, because I had never really seen anything like that in a movie. The hero always comes out on top, and they always seem so invincible, and the titular character of this entire franchise is blinded in one crazy move, and I'm like, what an insane way for that to happen. Like, I kind of respect that.
I did like that. I thought it was a little, I mean, I think it would have been cool if, like, him being the one, even outside of the Matrix, was able to like somehow predict his moves. I think that, like, having him just see light of where Bane / Agent Smith was at was like kind of like, all right, I guess. I think,
Yeah,
like, if he could have, like, not spider senses, like, or whatever, but like or spidey sense, but like use his blindness as, like, he doesn't need eyes to see. He doesn't need to see where your next punch is coming from. He doesn't need to see uh you know how you're defending yourself or what weapon you just picked up, because he is the one. He just intuitively knows these things. I think that would have been a better direction to take it.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. That yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Um, it's interesting to me that not only do they do that, but they killed Trinity in kind of a bizarre way too. Like, he just runs into a wall, and then there's like a 5-minute scene where she's dying, and at a certain point, I'm like, God, can you just like die already?
I thought that it was like very like there's like the stereotype where like the and even who was the guy who got his face all fucked up and he was in the APU thing?
Oh, General whatever. I don't
Yeah,
even know his
you know
name.
who I'm talking about. He gets his face all cut up. It took him forever to die, and I was like,
It did.
everyone else is dying instantly, but the main people get to stay alive just a little longer to say what they got to say. Bring down the gate or kiss me or whatever the fuck.
That was the other thing too, is that when everyone's fighting for Zion, I'm like, I don't care about any of this. Like, I've seen so little of Zion and I've seen so little of these characters. Like the guy who looks exactly like Mouse from the first movie, who's like, Neo, I believe, and then he shoots the thing. I'm like, first of all, Neo doesn't give a fuck about you, and that's been made very clear that he doesn't care about you. And second of all, I don't care about you either, because I don't even know his name. I couldn't tell you his name for the life of me.
I don't remember his name either.
Oh man. And then
The only curiosity I had was watching that scene. First off, it was just too long, too much. I didn't give a shit about. The only thing I cared about was, is Zion going to fall? Because the architect says that he's crushed Zion so many times and he's gotten really good at it. And so I was like, well, Neo switched it up and they're kind of off the beaten path at this point in terms of the architect and what he set out. Is Zion going to fall? And if it does, is that an indication that it didn't matter what door Neo picked at the end of 2? You know, and that was my only curiosity. But you know, Zion lives, they get the EMP, and none of that is the case. So
yeah, but you don't. I mean, I never bought into the idea that Neo was dead in that scene. I mean, my biggest thought is that he just went back to the source, which again, we don't have really any information on, like, or why he's able to use powers outside of the Matrix. The Oracle's just like, oh, it's because they come from the source. And you're like, well, what's that? Maybe that'll get answered. And then it just fucking doesn't.
well, I was going to ask you if you thought Neo was dead. So you kind of answered that question.
No, I don't. Do you?
I don't know. I want to say no, because that's probably where the story's going to go. And he's obviously in 4. So, you know, or I don't really know, because he sees Trinity in the trailer for 4 and they're like, have we met before? So like, I don't know if this is taking like, I don't know if it's a dream world or something that they're doing. I don't know. But
well, there's something interesting that I noticed. So the end of this movie is a really shitty, shaky shot of a sunrise, which is terrible. But the Matrix at that moment no longer has the green tint because it's been changed, because it's basically reset again, but with this whole new algorithm that is now set in place between, like, this battle that's been going on between the Oracle and the architect. So now it's like a much more peaceful place to live, and it'll only be people in there supposedly who want to live in there. But what I thought was interesting is that I complained about the trailer. I was like, oh, there's no green tint or whatever. I'm like, well, A, that's not what the Matrix looks like anymore. So if he's still in there, and B, I don't think he's in the Matrix in the 4th one. I think it's going to end up being that he's in the source, and like whatever that is created this new reality there. And like, because it almost looks like he gets sort of downloaded at the end of this movie, like when he's fighting Smith.
Yeah, so I agree with that. I don't think it's in reality or the Matrix. Like I said it could be a dream world. I like your idea of it being the source, but wherever it is, it's not one of those two, Matrix or reality.
What did you think about the ending of this movie? Because I find it very unsatisfying, but I like,
it is very unsatisfying. It doesn't really wrap it up in a nice bow, which is like, some movies do that kind of thing well, where they leave a lot out there. I don't know. Like, I kind of wanted to be left with a question, like every other, well, not every other, but the other 2 Matrix movies left me with curiosity. Like, that's the whole thing about this Matrix trilogy that I really love, is curiosity. Like, that's my biggest takeaway from it. Watching through 1 and at points in 2 and the end of 1 and 2, you really get that. And 3 totally does away with it, like I said earlier. So for me to enjoy the end of 3, I needed that, and I didn't get that, except the fact of like what happened to Neo. But
I think 3 also doesn't answer a bunch of questions, but then pretends that it did by being like, oh, just look at the pretty sunrise and everybody's happy. And I'm like,
yeah,
you haven't explained half of this movie.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but my idea of why Neo can use powers outside of the Matrix is like, we don't know what is outside of the matrix. We don't know that reality because effectively our reality and the physics and rules that we have here all around us are the same as the matrix. Like if we're living in one of those two, we're living in the matrix. So who knows? You could have fucking superpowers out in reality, right? Because we don't know what that is.
Yeah,
Right?
and that goes back to if they decide to do simulation within a simulation, which I don't really want them to do. But the only clues we get in the movie are when he asks the Oracle. He's like, what's happening to me? Why am I able to stop sentinels with my hands, like just by thinking it? And she's like, the one's powers don't just come from the algorithm, they come from the source. Like that's the source. The source is the source of your power, but that's all we get. So, and it's, now that there's a new one coming out, I'm hoping that they're going to get more into that because being a Matrix fan, I'm sure at the time too, if you saw it in theaters, that's the biggest question on your mind. And the movie just fucking ends. And you're like, what?
So the new one's called Resurrections, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 2 was Reloaded and 3 was Revelations.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we can kind of talk a little more in depth about the trailer if you want to just mention that real quick, because there are a couple things in here that I saw that I didn't know if you had seen or that maybe would, like, now that you have the context, would make more sense. But there's a moment in the trailer where Neo is looking at a mirror and he sees a face and then it transforms back into him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very clearly, at least to me, was Hugo Weaving. Like you can see Hugo Weaving in his face, the older version of him, and then it like sort of distorts back, which makes me think that like part of whatever code has been imprinted on Neo when he turned him into a clone is still inside of him.
That would be interesting. He's like maybe like some kind of Trojan horse in the program or something.
Yeah, I would love to see if this movie did like a Arkham Knight thing where Joker's dead, but he still appears everywhere and talks to Batman. Like, I think that'd be really fun if Hugo Weaving just shows up in scenes and Neo's the only one who can see him.
Well, if the source is technical, then maybe like Agent Smith could somehow infiltrate that like a virus. Because I always took it as like he was a virus, like a computer virus.
Yeah.
I forget what they call the one that can replicate. I think it's just virus.
Yeah, no, just virus. Because that's basically what happens after you're led to believe after the events of the first movie that Neo actually freed him from the system, and then he's like kind of the only one who can make his own choices. Until the end, when you realize he's never made any choice, it's all been a part of this system.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll it'll be interesting to see. I hope they do it well. That's my hope for the whole movie, is that they don't butcher it. But I think bringing Agent Smith back could bring some interesting plot points.
No, for sure. There's another moment in the trailer during the flashes at the beginning when he's talking to Neil Patrick Harris. You see Neo in the tube, like the weird tube that he's in when he wakes up for the first time, except his eyes are burned. So it almost makes me think that he's been like reinserted somehow, but it's still that version of him.
Let me pull up the trailer just so I could see.
Also, the use of that Jefferson Airplane White Rabbit song is fantastic. I love it.
When he wakes up in the tube?
Yeah, like in the first movie when he like pulls the shit out of his mouth and he wakes up and he's in like that weird pink tube thing.
Oh, it's in the flashes.
It's in the flashes, gosh. Yeah.
These go so fast.
No, they do. It's almost impossible to see. There's a moment there where you see him in there, but it's the Neo with his eyes burned.
How do you go frame by frame? Is it slash?
I don't know. It's a great question.
Is it? Oh, okay. It's greater than or period. Okay, so there's Neo with the Matrix green in his eyes, somebody firing a gun. Neo grabs the bullet. Naked Neo. Is that what you're talking about?
I think it might be that one. It's like in the corner somewhere. I'm trying to remember exactly where it was because I saw it a little while ago, but you can see that like he's in that tube still sleeping.
So there's one where it looks like Sentinels are doing like surgery on him, and he has his eyes burned.
Yeah, I think that might be what I'm thinking of.
Morpheus
There's
with
another one where
the.
you actually see him in the tube, but I could be mistaken.
Let me keep going. There's Morpheus with the extendo McBendos. A
That's
handshake.
another interesting thing in this trailer in general is that like where does this take place on the timeline if this is supposed to be like a younger Morpheus?
So it's a younger Morpheus, but an older Trinity and Neo.
Yeah, which makes me think that they're still connected to the source somehow because they both die in Machine City. So I'm wondering if like they just reinserted them where they are, the Matrix reset, and now Morpheus is a lot younger.
I'm looking at one of the flashes. It looks like the back of Trinity, and there is a rotary, not a rotary phone. Is that what they're called?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rotary phone.
Rotary phone where it's the circle, and then God, that was like the most like Gen Z millennial thing I could have ever said. But like in the first movie where they call to like get out of the Matrix, that's in the background there. I wonder if that will.
There's a lot of shots in this trailer that are from the first movie, but they feature older Keanu. Because I think I mentioned it before, but there's that moment where Agent Smith is punching him in the subway station, and he's punching him quickly, but he's punching old Keanu, long hair Keanu Reeves. So I'm wondering if part of this movie is going to be him reliving the events of the first Matrix.
It's possible. So the only other shot with Neo in these flashes, there's one where Neo's like slimy and he has his hair cut, but his eyes aren't burned, and it's like red, and he's hooked up to like some machine.
That might just be the one I was thinking of then, where they're like doing weird surgery stuff to him.
Yeah,
but it almost seems like the machines are trying to keep him alive for some reason, but I don't know why.
Yeah, especially because is it the Talk with the Architect, where the architect is like, even if the human race dies, like we have ways of like surviving as machines.
Yeah, he's like, there's levels of survival we're prepared to go to.
Yeah, so the machines don't necessarily need the humans, but they might need Neo.
Yeah, I mean, he did kind of strike that deal with them, which, by the way, I love that whole last fight scene, like that Dragon Ball ass fight scene, is all just for looks, because basically Neo's going in knowing I have to get absorbed in order to delete Smith from the system. Like that's my end goal. Like that's what the machines want. But he can't just go in there and be like, "Hey, go ahead, do it." Like he has to make it look convincing.
Yeah.
So there's no real reason for that fight to happen other than for him to trick Smith into ultimately, turning him into a clone.
I'm like going through the trailer now, looking at seeing if there's anything. Should have done this before the podcast.
There's so much great stuff in that trailer that people were like trying to pick apart. I mentioned this too before, but there's a moment where Neo's running away, old Neo, and someone has a projector playing the first movie on the wall. So like someone in that universe is watching the events of the first movie.
I will say this elevator scene or whatever, where everyone's on their phone and Neo's not, I hope it isn't like some way they want to tie it into like everyone's on their phones nowadays. They're just hooked into these computer world, just like the Matrix.
I think that's what they're doing, but I don't think they're going to harp on it. I don't think it's going to be like, if only Neo's not going to go at one point, like, if only people got off their phones, then they would see that, he's just going to notice that he doesn't belong in this world, if that makes sense. Like he's not plugged in like everybody else. And I think that's what that's supposed to be a metaphor for. So if that's all it is, I'm fine with it.
The Alice in Wonderland book is kind of interesting.
Oh, that's another thing. That girl in the next shot, is that young Oracle or is that the Indian girl program?
Sati.
Hmm.
I when I watched it thought it was the Oracle because of the Alice in Wonderland book, but you
Yeah.
bring up a good point.
Because the end of that movie, she's like, "Oh, well, we like the young girl's like, well, we Sati, you said."
I think that's her name.
Yeah. So Sati's like, "Hey, will we ever see Neo again?" And the Oracle's like, I think you will. I think you'll see him again. So that makes me think that she's grown up a little bit in the time since then, if programs can grow up.
Yeah, it's interesting because we don't know how this timeline works yet.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know when or even where this movie takes place, and that's kind of fun. I think they showed just enough to give you like an idea of what this movie was going to be, but not enough to spoil anything.
Which is what a trailer should do.
Yeah. Yeah, it should. Because this isn't one of those things where I can, it's not like No Way Home where even though they didn't show a ton, I'm like, okay, I know exactly where this movie's going. I know what's going to happen. It's not really going to shock me that much, I don't think. But like this one could go literally anywhere with it.
Yeah.
I yeah, I again, if it's bad, I'm used to it. I'm used to bad Matrix movies, but I really hope it's not.
Same. I'm excited for it. When's it come out? Christmas, did it say?
Yeah, the 22nd, I believe.
Okay.
And that'll be in theaters and on HBO Max.
Got the double feature for Spider-Man and Matrix.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm really trying to see. I'm trying to do this, go through the Sony channels to see the movie early, like get a screener, because I don't want to watch No Way Home with an audience because I know I'm just gonna get mad.
If you can pull that off, that would be very cool. If you get an extra ticket, let me know.
Oh, dude, I will. Absolutely, I will. No, I don't want to see it in the theaters with a bunch of people screaming because Andrew Garfield pops up on like I just just watch the fucking film, be an adult.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
We have, but God, it makes me so angry. I think I told you too. Like one of the worst movie experiences I ever had was Endgame because I couldn't hear half the movie because people were screaming or talking or being like, "Hey, look, it's Hawkeye." I'm like, "Yep, we're all watching the same movie, bud."
Maybe you're just an asshole. Maybe his blind kid was like sitting next to him.
He's like, "Look, Hawkeye's on screen." I'm like, "Can you shut the fuck up?" I actually did yell in that theater, and I've never done that in my life, but there were fucking these fucking morons in front of me, and they were screaming at the top of their lungs what had happened in the previous scene. So like they were like, "Remember in that last scene when Black Widow kicked that guy? That was awesome." But they were literally screaming, and I couldn't hear what was happening in the movie. And I leaned over and I was like, "Can you guys shut the fuck up?" And I like actually kind of yelled at them. And they did. They shut the fuck up.
You know what would be great technology to invent
Hmm.
that we might cut because it's actually a really good idea and I don't want anyone to take it.
Hmm.
It actually might be a thing, but like how they had 3D glasses for like the 3D movies. I don't know. I
Hmm.
don't watch movies in 3D,
Yeah, yeah.
but if they had like glasses or some kind of technology that would like put up subtitles, but like just for you.
They actually do have that.
Ah, damn.
That exists. When I was working at the theater, that was for the hearing impaired. They had those glasses, and they would essentially just appear on the glasses, but anywhere you looked, they would still be there. Like the subtitles would still be there.
Ah, damn.
It's a good idea.
Not only for the hearing impaired, but also like I've been spoiled with these streaming services having closed captioning because that's some people don't like to watch movies that way. That is my preferred way to watch a movie.
Yeah, for me, it depends on the movie. Like Tenet, for sure. I was like, I'm not watching this without subtitles. Like I've already heard the horror stories about how people can't hear anything they're saying. Um,
Yeah.
I would love to go to a movie theater where everyone just gets a pair of headphones. Like everyone has their own pair of headphones. It's all you're all watching the same thing happening, but you don't have to hear anybody else. Like I would love that.
I wonder, because there's some people who do like to go to the movies together, and like I don't care if you like whisper to the person next to you, and I think that should be fine. So like if they don't want headphones, they should be allowed. But I don't think there's any headphones that can like noise cancel an entire movie theater. You know, like if you had the movie theater sound playing through the speakers, and also like if you wanted, you could have headphones to tune out everybody else. I don't think those would noise cancel enough to tune out the movie theater speakers, because those things are loud as shit.
Yeah, I know. You wouldn't be able to do both at once. I mean, like you know how sometimes like schools have those dances where like it's just headphones in and like if you take
Uh,
them out, it looks like a bunch of serial killers just jumping around.
Silent discos.
Like the silent discos, yeah. Like it looks insane. And that's kind of what I was thinking here. Like you can go to the normal one and you can see it and you can like fucking yell and scream and be a moron all you want. Or you if you're like, I don't want to do any of that, you can just go to the one where they're like, hey, here's a pair of headphones. You can turn it up or down as much as you want, and pictures still huge, still, same theater experience, just right in your ear.
So two things. One, they should do like one screening for people without headphones and one screening for people who want the headphones. Like
Yeah, that's what I mean.
for me, like if it's say it's not a movie like Spider-Man, if it's just a different movie, I might like that just because like if I'm there by myself or whatever, like I'm gonna want that. Or maybe not. I don't care. Like I don't really care enough. So it's not gonna sway like which one I pick. But for a movie like Spider-Man, there's gonna be people who want the headphones, people who don't.
Yeah. I mean, movies where I know, like, I know if I like going into the Green Knight or whatever, I know people are going to be like, whoa, like, fucking, like everyone's going to be respectful in a movie like that. So I'm not worried about it there. But something like a dumb action movie, like, I would much rather have headphones for that.
But what I'm saying is like even for like a screening like the Green Knight, it could still be an option for people. Like I would like to see them. If I'm going by myself, I would like to see them movie with headphones. I think that's a better movie experience for me.
Yeah.
But if they don't do that, like I'll still go to the regular one. Also with COVID, you'd have to sanitize each headphone.
Yeah, that's
But
true too. I guess they could do it where like you could bring your own, but that would be so complicated.
no, you could just like they do in airplanes or whatever, just have like a aux port in the armchair, like the armrest of the chair, and just plug in your headphones into the port of the chair.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
But then again, like you'd have to have everybody with headphones to do that.
Yeah, that's true. The only headphones they had at the theater where I worked at least were like audio descriptive ones for people who couldn't see. So it was just like
Oh,
Captain America throws his shield and but you could still hear the movie in the background of him. So they have
Hmm.
those already, but not for someone who just wants to listen to it through the headphones.
I do like the idea of volume control on them.
Yeah, sometimes theaters are fucking loud. And I don't want it to be that I don't want it to be that loud. There was one when I saw Far From Home, I went to go see that in IMAX opening night, like midnight or whatever. And one of the IMAX places by my house is really good, and the other one was this one, which is so loud that it feels like how your ears hurt if you don't wear earplugs and you go to a concert or whatever. Like that's how loud it was. Like my ears actually hurt watching a movie.
That's insane.
It's just not even enjoyable at that point. I'm like, why would you want it this loud? It's crazy.
So Connor, we're kind of getting to time. Do you want to do some recommendations and then wrap it up?
Yeah, sure. You want to go first?
Yeah, I will say that we could have talked about Metroid if you want. Or I can play it a little bit more and we could talk about it next week.
How much time do we have? Because I wouldn't mind getting your like general thoughts real quick.
Like we are at an hour right now, I think.
Okay, we can go like a little bit over. I'm fine if you want to
Okay.
like, hear your thoughts.
Okay. So I've played Metroid Zero Mission and Metroid Fusion, games I've never played before until, what was it, 2 or 3 days ago?
I'm so nervous.
How do I not piss you off? I started with Zero Mission, which was the mistake in my opinion. Because that game is not intuitive at all. and it's kind of like the controls are a little clunky, and I just had no idea where I was at. I felt like the map was, you know what, I'm going for it. I'm just gonna say it, and then it'll be out there.
Go for it.
The map felt like a maze. It felt not just a maze, but like a labyrinth. That like everywhere I went, I could not find my way around it. I didn't know what the objective was. I didn't even realize, like, when I hit the start button, it took me a while to figure out that like the little flashing ball was like my target. It took me like 45 minutes before I realized, like, oh, that's where I'm supposed to go. I'm supposed to find my way there. And you know, that, I don't know, it just didn't seem intuitive to me. Then I switched over to Fusion after, like, I don't know, an hour and a half. That one was a little bit better. I also felt like the story was a little bit better because you could go to the navigation rooms and like the game would talk to you and tell you, you know, different things about the story and where you're supposed to go. And when you pulled up the map, the flashing thing actually said target.
This target, yeah.
So I don't know. That game, the controls felt a little bit better. Wasn't quite as much of a maze. Again, I only played that for like an hour. That one I would probably still play a little bit more of. But Zero Mission, I don't know if I'll ever go back to it.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack with what you just said. I'm going to try and keep it brief because I think we're going to talk about this more like next week or the week after. For reference, the reason Chris was so like, you know, scared to tell me, Metroid Fusion is my favorite game of all time. Zero Mission I also think is incredible. What's interesting about you saying that, Chris, so Zero Mission came out after Fusion,
Right.
and it's built with the Fusion engine. So, and it's a remake of the original Metroid on the NES. So I think the idea is, if you played them when they came out, like I did, is that you played Fusion, you got an idea for, like, the glowy thing means target, the way the controls feel, which are perfect. And then you can go into Zero Mission and kind of know exactly how to do it, and it can be a little less handholdy and you'd be fine.
Yeah.
That might have been my fault telling you to jump into Zero Mission first. The first one I ever played was Fusion. And I think the story explains everything in a way that you can just go into Fusion and be fine. But I definitely think Fusion and Zero Mission are good places to just begin with in general, because they're the easiest of the Metroid games. Super gets kind of hard, and the Prime games are a little hard. And AM2R will fuck you in the butt if you're not ready for it. Like, that game is not for the faint of heart. That, oh my god, when you were like, the controls weren't very good, I felt like I was stabbed in the chest.
I feel like Samus is just too big on the screen. Like, I missed, it could have just been the way I was playing the game. Maybe there was like lag in my input or something. But I felt like I missed a lot of jumps, and I feel like because of that, I would go one way, and because of the controls, I felt like I couldn't progress, and I was like, well, maybe I need to go back. So then I would backtrack, and then like I'd get stuck and be like, well, this isn't the way. So then I'd have to go back again and be like, oh, this is like, I just didn't hit the inputs correctly. Like, there was one where it was like, there's like two ledges. I can't remember if this was Fusion or Zero Mission, probably Zero Mission, but I just got like the ledge jumping thing, like on your suit. And there was two ledges like this, and it was like a corridor up or something. And I tried to jump at it, and I couldn't grab the ledge for whatever reason. And I was like, well, maybe I just can't grab that ledge right now, or something like that. Maybe I have to go and unlock and find something else, or, but it just turns out I wasn't I wasn't timing the jump correctly.
Okay, here's another question I have for you, because you're not playing this on a Game Boy Advance.
Right.
What are you using to control the game? Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if that was bad.
No, that's fine. That's totally fine. I would say use the D-pad for sure instead of the analog stick.
Okay.
D-pad for a 2D Metroid makes it way better.
Okay. I was using the analog, so for the audio listeners, I was using an Xbox controller.
Yeah, no, I would use that. Man, if you do you have a Game Boy Advance?
Uh, not in advance.
Not Advance. Okay. I was gonna say I will literally send you my copy of Fusion so you can play it like, the way it was meant to or whatever, to have that
I
first experience.
We
Because
have a color maybe somewhere. I don't think we have an advance though.
gotcha. Yeah, no, it wouldn't work with that. Yeah, it's hard for me to be objective about this too. When something is like when it's your favorite anything, it's hard to be objective. To me, that game is the perfect blend of gameplay, story, and atmosphere. I think the game is genuinely terrifying as you kind of progress through and get further in and sort of learn the truth of what's going on. Um, I love the way the suit gets upgraded. I think there's tons of bosses and they all give you just enough to where you feel like you're making progress, but you're not overpowered. You can't just take everything down. And I think the story it's there and it's present, but it's not there enough to get in the way of in my opinion, airtight controls and gameplay mechanics. But
So I will mention that the thing about the suit was pretty good. I like the way they did it, especially in games like that are like almost 2 decades old at this point. They didn't have like a difficulty selector, especially games from like the 80s and 90s didn't have a difficulty selector. So the game you got was as hard as it was. And so I think this game did a okay job with like the difficulty thing. Uh, Obviously, my problems come with the other stuff. And I saw online that a lot of people were like exploring it and getting lost as part of the game. Uh, Maybe if you've played Fusion before, like I'm talking about Zero Mission. But yeah, I think I should have started with Fusion.
Fusion is very linear, and I think a lot of Metroid heads out there would say they don't like it because it's very handholdy. I actually like it for that reason because I think it gives you enough direction, but it also kind of lets you figure out your own path to get to the objective. Super is just like, hey, here's the whole fucking map, have fun. Like there is no direction whatsoever in Super. You are literally just like bombing every single thing trying to figure out where to go next. But that is part of the fun, I think, is just getting lost in that world and being like, hey, if I unlock this door, now I have missiles, I can unlock this door. Like, oh shit, here's another power up, here's another missile tank or a power bomb thing, or whatever. And that's kind of the magic of that series.
I think one of the things about Zero Mission 2 is there's a lot of hidden things. Like if I'm like a morph ball and I bomb, a part of the map that looks like part of the map could actually be like a hidden block. And I just had no clue. So like I didn't even know to progress this way because until like I randomly destroyed a block that was part of the map. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to go this way, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that comes with the territory. That's just like, I think sometimes it can be hard to jump into those games because I'm so used to that. I'm like, okay, where's the hidden block? Where's the secret passageway that I can just walk through? Like, I check everything when I go through those games. Um, so I think just having that inexperience might be part of that. But I recommend you really give Fusion a try. If you don't like it, I can't stop you from not liking it. Obviously, you're your own person, you have your own opinions. I would recommend you play through more than just an hour though to really give it a chance. Maybe try
Mhm.
and adjust the controls a little bit. Again, do the D-pad, use A and B, and then the bumpers to like do the aim down shit. Like that's how I would set it up at least.
That's how I was doing it with the exception of D-pad.
Okay, yeah. So if that's all the same, yeah, I would change it to
Well,
D-pad.
bumpers were diagonal, aimed diagonally.
Yeah. So one of
Yeah.
them should be aimed diagonally. One of them should be you click it and you can get missiles. Like you hold it and then you
Yes.
press B. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Left bumper was diagonal. I held right bumper, and that would let me do missiles.
Yeah. Okay. So those are the controls you need. Yeah. I would definitely analog is weird on 2D Metroids like that where you don't have full 360 range. Because what ends up happening is that you run with the analog stick. If you tilt it up at all, your character will just start doing this or like move around all crazy. Um, so that can make it a little bit harder. I think I might download MGBA and get Fusion just so I can like do a walkthrough with you. Honestly, like I would love to like speed run that game and have everyone watch. Um,
I Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I think I need to play more Fusion before I go back to Zero Mission.
I would
And
recommend you beat Fusion, and then if you still enjoy it, go back to Zero Mission. It'll be much easier.
okay, yeah, so these suggestions are good. And I will honestly try a little bit more Fusion.
Okay, that's fair. Listen, it's not. I'm not going to pretend that this series is for everybody because it's not. Some people just might not enjoy the way the information is doled out to you, or the way you kind of control around the map or the enemy types. Like I totally get why people wouldn't like this game. Again, it's just so hard. I'm like, why the fuck don't you like it? Like it's so hard for me to
You would think this game is for everybody the way the internet has it set up, because I tried to find like people hating on it, and there's literally like 3 YouTube videos and that's it. And they're all downvoted to shit. Like there's no content on the internet for people who don't like Metroid.
no, everybody. I've never met someone who hasn't liked it before, so that's why I was so interested with you being like, I don't know how I feel about this yet.
I think part of it, like I'll change the controls and I'll do Fusion because I think Zero Mission was a lot. So, and also I didn't play these as a kid. So I didn't play Fusion when it came out, and then Zero Mission when it came out. I just jumped straight into what you told me to do.
Yeah, which maybe was bad information. I just wanted you, because Zero Mission is technically the start of everything, the start of the story. It's a remake of the first one, so it's a good. I still think it's a good, solid place to start, but Fusion might be better in terms of gameplay. It's a little bit slower, and it's definitely more linear. So, yeah, I
Do you recommend people watch the prequels first, because linearly that's how they start?
I don't know how to watch the Star Wars movies anymore. Because like there are some I would skip. I'd be like, fucking don't watch Solo. That shit sucks.
I haven't seen Solo.
It's no bueno. Yeah. For anyone out there, if you have a Wii U, the 3 of you that have a Wii U, you can get these games on the virtual shop, and they're really cheap. They're like $10 each, which is a great deal. They do a bunch of like anti-aliasing on them too, so they look really good when you blow them up on a TV. They did a good job with that. But yeah, if not, just fucking emulate it. Like if Nintendo's not going to give you an avenue to buy it without buying a fucking stupid console that failed, like just emulate it and be done with it. It's fine. No one cares.
Yeah.
That's I just get so mad at Nintendo about that kind of shit, where they're like, oh, we're gonna put out Metroid 5, but we're not gonna give you any way to play the other ones so there can be new fans. I'm like, that's so dumb.
That's really sad. I mean, you know what they should do? I don't know if we mentioned this before, because we definitely talked about this topic before. When they release the new Metroid Dread, they could also, in the weeks or months leading up to it, like stagnate releases of the old games. So like I don't know, 3 months out they'll release Fusion and Zero Mission, and then after a month they'll release I don't know, whatever the next one is in the series, Prime or whatever, and then a month later they'll release the rest of the catalog, and then another month later you get the new game, so you get to play it in the months or weeks leading up to it, the old games, and like continue the hype and stuff. Because like when Borderlands 3 came out, was it a year or 2 ago, I played the old Borderlands leading up to it, because I wanted to remember the story better and get in the feel for it. And then when it came out, I played it. Since Nintendo hasn't released these games, that's what they should do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, and it blows me away that that's not the case. And it's weird for a series like Metroid too, because Metroid doesn't have the love that like a Mario or a Zelda has. A Mario and a Zelda come out, everyone's gonna fucking buy it. It's not gonna be a problem with sales. Metroid doesn't have that luxury. So the idea of you being like, hey, here's the 5th game coming out 19 fucking years later, and you're not going to have and the success of the franchise going forward depends on this game selling well, and we're not going to release the other games to supplement that so you'll understand exactly what's going on. Good luck, Metroid. Like, that's a horrible way to run a business.
Yeah, I agree. I think they should take my idea, but
I totally
it
agree.
also lets people, because when I was in 2002 2004, I was what, like 7 8, so it would allow me to actually play these games, because I missed out on that as a kid. Like, I didn't have these games as a kid. I had whatever I said, Prime Hunters, whatever, which barely counts as a Metroid game. And so I would be able to revisit it and maybe become a fan later. Or it lets kids that were not, like, kids today or teenagers today that were not alive back then to play these games. Like, that's the great thing about these games is, like, they don't die.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a fucking book or whatever. I don't know. You can read old books.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what it is. Lets you go back and experience this. And other companies do this so well. Like the I don't know why I can't think of the company name. Whoever makes Spyro, like, they had that whole trilogy that they put back out, like the remastered trilogy. It was awesome. It's a bunch of games, and it was like $40. It was a great deal.
I played that, I think, and reviewed it on here. It was amazing. It was great. It took me back to when I played those games as a kid. And if you didn't play those games as a kid, now you get the chance to.
And it's updated, so you don't feel like you're playing something old and like, oh, this is outdated, or like it's brand new graphics, so it's fine.
No, I think it was good. Like, it wasn't like the best game ever released in 2020 or 2019 or whenever it came out, but it could take you back nostalgically, but it also held up as a game that comes out like in this time.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Like, all like SpongeBob Bikini Bottom Rehydrated or whatever, same thing. Like, great idea. I actually just bought that because it was on sale for $15. So I'm gonna
Hannah worked through it during like this whole quarantine thing.
Yeah, she said it was really fun, and that honestly was like why I wanted to give it a shot, because I never played the original one. Like, I don't have that nostalgia built in, but I have nostalgia for SpongeBob, so I was like, this looks like a fun one to get.
Yeah, no, it is fun. I played a couple parts of it. It's pretty fun.
But yeah, for anyone out there who is wanting to get into Metroid, basically what we said is fine, but also there's a video by Arlo on YouTube, and it's called So You Want to Be a Metroid Fan, or something like that. And it goes into like what games you should play, like which ones you should play before Dread comes out, how to get each game. He basically mirrors my sentiment exactly, which is just fucking emulate it. It's fine. Like, it's not a big deal if they don't provide you access to it. But yeah, Chris, I'll probably send that to you too, just because I think it's a great video to have. But yeah, for anyone out there, Arlo, great video.
Yeah, and I like that I can talk to you about it as someone as a Metroid fan, because you're telling me like this is how I need to correct how I'm playing it so that I enjoy it better. Use the D-pads at analog, stick with fusion before going to zero mission.
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't know, just use those YouTube videos or Reddit or forums or whatever to, Yep. I believe you and the rest of I believe you and the 7.5 billion other people in the world that agree that this game is good.
You just have to see the light.
Yeah.
That's all it is. No, I mean, I think it takes a minute. They're a little bit obtuse at first, but once you're in it, you're in it. And we want everybody. We want all of you to be a part of this. So please play the games.
Yeah. And the great thing about this going on the internet is that you have undeniable proof that when, like, if I enjoy it, you can be like, I told you so.
I wake up one morning and you've stayed up all night. Like, I can't stop.
My eyes are bloodshot. And
I can't wait for the Prime trilogy, the HD one that's supposed to be coming out like early next year. Oh, you're never gonna see me again. I'm gonna play through all those.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, sorry. That was that. I thought that was gonna be quicker. It wasn't, but we can still do recommendations, I think, and then we'll get out of here.
It's fine. Mine is real simple. For the first time this year, last night, I had a gobbler from Wawa. I probably recommended this time last year. It's that you know what it is, right? It's the Thanksgiving hoagie from Wawa.
Oh, it's back.
It's back, but they fucked around yesterday. They didn't have, so the best one is it's turkey and gravy, stuffing, and cranberry sauce in a
Yep.
sandwich. It's the best kind. They didn't have it. They had turkey gravy, sweet potatoes, and garlic aioli. It was okay. I've also had the mashed potato one last year, and the problem with mashed potatoes in a sandwich is it gets the gravy gets the bread soggy, and the mashed potatoes and the soggy bread just make a fucking mess.
Yeah. It's like
So
double soggy, just like it turns into slop.
yeah, it's so good, but I recommend the stuffing one first, and I really hope that I can get my hands on one soon. But yeah, they sold a Wawa, so
I didn't know those were back, and I will be getting one as soon as possible because those are delicious.
have you had them before? Did you have them last year?
I had it last year, yeah, on your recommendation, actually. Maybe not on the podcast, but you told me at one point, you're like, dude, you got to try this. And I did, and it was amazing. I
They
am a
also
little,
just have like hot turkey and gravy sandwiches too, if you don't like all the extra stuff.
yeah, that's true. I'm a little mad at Wawa right now because they got rid of the milkshakes, and I love those milkshakes.
Maybe that was a local thing. I don't think they did that
Do you
here.
still have them?
I don't normally get them though.
I checked two different ones just because like I went to one and they didn't have it. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just doing repairs. And I went to another one and they didn't have it either. So I was like, I think they just got rid of, at least around here. I think they got rid of them.
I'll check tomorrow morning because Wawa's doing like a free coffee for school teachers and administrators. So
Nice.
I'm gonna get a free coffee tomorrow morning, and I'll check if they have the milkshakes at mine.
Okay, I want you to update us next week, and we'll know for
No,
sure.
I can just update the description when I get to work.
Okay, just put it in all caps, like never
Or-
going to Wawa again or something.
Or before. I'll do it before work.
That's a great recommendation. That might be the best recommendation we've had.
Well, yeah, it was back literally last Wednesday night. So
Oof, you shouldn't have told me that. I'm gonna be there all the time now. Mine is a lot less cool, but it is something I just got into like 2 days ago. But Pokemon, the trading card game online, is really fun. And my only complaint is that the UI of that game is like total fucking garbage, and there's no tutorials at all, basically. There's like one small tutorial, but it kind of sucks. It doesn't really teach you the more advanced stuff.
So did I recommend this before? It might have like been runner up like several weeks.
I think so. Yeah, I don't remember you ever mentioning it here, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah, I know. I played it a while back for like a good stretch, like I don't know, a couple months ago. Great recommendation. Yeah, the tutorial kind of sucks, but you can play through the trainer challenges and they're pretty easy. As long as you like, if you're going against a grass deck, you pick a fire deck or whatever, you can really like just destroy them and kind of build it up. How far have you gotten? Have you leveled up any decks or anything?
So I haven't yet. I've gotten a couple cards, but what's annoying is that you have to beat each trainer with 4 different decks, and they only give you 3, and it has to be a different deck each time to get all the stars, which they don't explain to you.
Keep playing because you should get more decks. They give you more decks.
Okay.
I think they give you 2 water, 2 fire, a grass, electric, and something else.
Okay.
Maybe you have to play through. There's like different like tiers or whatever. I forget how you unlock them, but you can definitely earn more decks and buy more decks, obviously. But it takes a while to buy your first deck.
Because I'm still on like the first gold tier, and it gave me 3 decks. It gave me electricity, fire, and water, and that was it.
Yeah, the first decks kind of suck. You do earn more the more you play, I think.
Okay, that's cool.
And they get better. Like which fire is the fire deck you have with Growth and that one?
Yeah.
There's a better one that has like Blaziken and stuff, I think, in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I saw that you can buy some. It's like 500 coins or whatever.
Yeah, that one. The first one I bought was the Charizard one. That one's really good. Then I bought the Dragonite one, which sucks. And I bought a Mewtwo one, which I only played a couple times. I actually played last night. I just did one match of the Charizard online and I won.
I was
So
playing today because it's a great game to have in the background while you're doing other stuff. Like I was
yeah.
like going through some job applications and stuff, and then I saw that like I could just have it up and windowed in the corner. So like occasionally I'd like do my turn and then I go back to that. So it was nice to have that up. But it's not very microtransaction-y. Like you get coins, but there's not really any way to like buy extra shit, and no one's really that OP unless you like play a ton of the game. So that's nice.
Yeah, my recommendation for that game is play all the trainers, level up all the decks they give you. I don't think you can take those decks online, but it makes it more like the decks, they give you better cards, so it makes it more fun when you do play the computers. Beat the computers like 4 times so you can get your pack. Like if you beat a computer 4 times, you get a pack, and it lets you like get more cards to build out other decks with. And then once you beat all the way through the computers, you don't have to beat all of them 4 times, but just like get through enough that you can buy your first deck with 500 coins, buy the Charizard one, and then that will let you like be competitive online. Like I think I'm like probably somewhere around 500 online, and I'm not that good at Pokemon, so like that's a good deck to start with, and you can play online with that.
Up until 2 days ago, I didn't know how to play Pokemon. I had never played the game. I collected hundreds, if not thousands, of cards when I was a kid. Never played the game, like not once.
I played. There was a trading card game on the Game Boy, I think.
There was, yeah, on the either the Game Boy or the Game Boy Color.
I think it was Color, or maybe it was Game Boy. I don't remember. I had it and I really loved it, and I might emulate it to play it again, or buy it legally,
Yeah,
whatever.
we always buy it.
But that is where I learned to play it, and I never actually played with the cards. But that game and then this game, really love it. I actually love the way it's kind of like Magic Arena, in that like I can just waste some time and like numb out playing it, but also B, like I don't have to physically like buy all these cards to like play the game, and I'm connecting all around the world with people, so like I always have people to play against. So
One of the other cool things I thought was that I guess when you buy a pack in real life, it comes with a QR code and you get a pack in the game. So every
hmm,
pack that you buy gets you another digital pack. And I was like, that's such a good idea.
hmm,
I
that
actually
is
saw
cool.
someone was selling 100 of the QR codes for like $15 online. Like they were like, I don't play the online game, so $15 you can have 100 packs. And I was like, if I keep playing this, that's not a bad deal.
No, uh, I will say there are like people who like really cheese the fuck out of this game, and they have like decks that are just like I don't know, GX everything, and they've got stupid powers, and like you do get those people, but for the most part, like you run against people who are just trying out decks that they bought, and it's not that bad.
Yeah, I would recommend it to anybody who likes Pokemon. I mean, the game, I was worried the game was going to be really complicated, like, sort of a Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh. It's really easy. Like I mean, easy
Yeah,
to learn, hard to master, I think.
yeah, I think that's the case. Like those people that I play against who have like those super rare GX, EX, whatever cards with all these powers and things, gets really complicated. But like the Charizard deck, it's a little tough to learn, like because there's a couple abilities and trainer cards and stuff that you kind of have to learn and like know when to use them and stuff. But really, like once you get your strategy down, like you're good, you're golden.
Yeah, so super fun. But yeah, I think that about does it for today. Sorry we went a little bit over, guys, but we get excited about stuff.
Yeah,
But thank you so much for watching. Chris, thank you for co-hosting again, as always. We always appreciate it. Yeah, if you guys liked, be sure to like and subscribe. Show our Twitter some love because that has like 3 followers, and I'd like to do more stuff on there. But if nobody looks at it, I don't really feel motivated to do stuff. But yeah,
yeah,
definitely follow that, and then Facebook. We'll do Instagram one of these days. We'll actually post something there. But Yeah, until next time. What? Until next time. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.